Something changed. Not in your schedule, not in your goals, not in your life. Something changed inside the tissue between your ears, and you felt it the morning you sat down to do the work, and your whole body said no. The pain you feel when you try to be disciplined is not weakness. It is a measurement. You are measuring the distance between who you used to be and who your brain has been quietly becoming. And most people feel that measurement and call it laziness. They are wrong. There was a version of you that got things done. You remember it. Maybe it was a season, a period when the work felt possible, when the alarm went off and you got up, when the task was in front of you and you started. Not because it was easy, not because you wanted to, but because the distance between the thought and the action was small enough to cross. Discipline was never about wanting to do the hard thing. It was about having a brain that could cross the distance between knowing and doing. That distance has grown, and nobody told you why. Here is what no one tells you. Your brain does not evaluate discipline the way it used to. Before the constant stimulation, before the phones, before the feeds that deliver a dopamine signal every 7 seconds, your brain used a clean baseline. Effort above baseline, worth attempting. Effort below baseline, avoid. Your brain is not comparing discipline to how hard it feels. It is comparing discipline to how good your last spike felt. And your last spike was free. It was instant. It required nothing. So discipline, the thing that asks for 20 minutes of focused work, registers as pain. Not because it is painful, because it is less pleasurable than what your brain now considers normal. This is the mechanism, the one that explains everything. And it is running in you right now. Without your permission, researchers at MIT found something that should disturb you. When the brain encounters effort, real effort, it activates the same neural circuits as physical pain. The anterior cingulate cortex, the insula. Both light up when you sit down to do hard work the same way they would if someone pressed on a bruise. Your brain is not making this up. Discipline does not feel like pain because you are weak. It feels like pain because your brain is using the same machinery, the same alarm system, the same signal. The only difference is that physical pain comes from outside. This pain, the pain of discipline, is manufactured inside the very brain that could solve the problem. There is a specific structure in your brain that may be the most important organ you have never heard of. It is called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Neuroscientists at Stanford call it the seat of willpower. It is the region that determines how much pain your brain is willing to absorb before it gives up and avoids. And researchers found something that should change how you see every failure you have ever had. The people who lived the longest, the people who aged with the most cognitive resilience, had one thing in common: larger anterior mid-cingulate cortexes, built by a lifetime of doing things they did not want to do. In people who avoided all difficulty, this region atrophied, shrank, like a muscle that was never. Think about when you were 15, or 16, or whatever age it was before the feeds arrived in full. You were bored, genuinely, deeply, uncomfortably bored. And from that boredom, you made things. You started something. You finished something. You had a tolerance for the uncomfortable that most adults reading this have quietly lost. You did not have more willpower then. You had a lower baseline. The hard thing was closer to normal. That is all discipline ever was. The feeds did not steal your time. They stole your floor. They elevated the minimum level of stimulation your brain considers acceptable. And anything below that line now registers as suffering. So where does that leave you? You have a brain recalibrated by constant stimulation, a dopamine baseline that makes effort feel like pain, an anterior mid-cingulate cortex that may be shrinking every time you choose the easier option, and a body that receives the instruction to start and fires back. Not yet. Here is what most people do with this information. They try harder. They push through the pain with motivation, with urgency, with a quote from someone who never struggled with a feed. Motivation is gasoline on a wet match. It burns for 1 second. Then you are left with the same brain, colder. What actually rebuilds the baseline, what actually grows the AMCC, is not trying harder. It is doing the difficult thing in the absence of any desire to do it, repeatedly, until the brain updates its own map. Neither can I. But I know what it requires. So what does the protocol actually look like? Not the theory, the practice. Neuroscientists studying a MCC growth through chosen difficulty found consistent patterns in the behaviors that reliably activated and expanded it. First, the task must be something you do not want to do. If you want to do it, it does not count in the same way. The brain registers chosen pain, not chosen pleasure. Second, the task must be completed, even poorly, before the window closes. Not perfectly, not fully, just within the window. Third, external stimulation must be removed from the environment for the duration of the task. Not reduced, removed. The phone in the same room is not neutral. Research shows its mere presence reduces cognitive capacity by up to 26%, even when it is face down and silent. The protocol is simple. Unwanted task, completed imperfectly. Phone in another room, repeated until day 23. I want to reframe what you think discipline is. Most people think discipline is a behavior, a routine, a habit they perform. It is not. Discipline is the physical size of a brain region. It is not a character trait. It is a measurement. And it changes based on what you do today. Every time you do the unwanted thing, the AMCC logs it. Every time you avoid it, the AMCC loses volume. This is not a metaphor about consistency. This is structural biology. When you sit down to do the task you do not want, you are not just getting work done. You are performing surgery on your own brain, without a scalpel, without a surgeon. The only instrument is the decision itself. There is a cost to every avoided difficulty that does not show on your bank account or your schedule. It shows on a brain scan. It shows in the shrinking of the region that was supposed to carry you through the years when everything gets harder. The people who built the longest lives, the sharpest minds, the most sustained output, they didn't have more talent. They had more AMCC. Every avoided hard thing is a withdrawal from an account you cannot see until the day the account is empty, and you wonder by not stopping, by not waiting to want it, by crossing the distance when the distance felt impossible. The question is not whether you can feel the pain. You can. The pain is scheduled. The question is whether you will let the circuit log it, or whether today is the day you give the AMCC a reason to shrink. The protocol exists. The 23 days exist. The map can be redrawn. but only by the person sitting inside the brain that needs redrawing. The brain will not heal itself in the absence of the person it belongs to. You are the only surgeon. There is no wait list, and the operating table is wherever you are right now. In the next episode, we are going to talk about a number. Not 21, 66. The real number of days that researchers at University College London found it takes for a behavior to become automatic, and why the first 22 of those days are designed by biology to feel like they are going to break you. If that number matters to you, if you are on day 4 and you are already wondering whether you are built differently, subscribe if you want that. Because I am not making content. I am building a map for people who are lost.